Happy Sunday, Tampa Bay. Happy Easter Sunday, Tampa Bay. If part of your Sunday Easter routine is listening in for some real estate news, and I've got some great insight for you today. Hopefully you're home spending time with your family. Maybe you're out on Easter egg hunts, or you already did it, and now you're helping your kids eat your candy. But nonetheless, going to talk about some real estate stuff today. And the first thing that I want to get to today, again, this is Andrew Duncan, the Duncan Duo team at LPT Realty. Here every Sunday at 10 on WFLA News. Today I want to talk about a stat that I saw this week that was pretty mind-blowing. And it's no secret that the last few years, the real estate market hasn't performed as well as it did at peak. You know, we're probably 40 to 50% off of peak transaction numbers, depending on which part of Tampa Bay you're talking about. We cover a really broad geographic area when we talk about stuff on the show, and my team does as well. So first and foremost, we've seen a drop in transactions, but the thing that surprised me most about looking at some statistics recently was that 75% of real estate agents didn't sell a house last year. In other words, they had no income. They sold no homes. They didn't help any clients. And it's remarkable to me because time and time again, right now, we are getting calls from frustrated home buyers and home sellers working with real estate agents that are failing them, you know, that are not able to get their home sold. Their home comes off the market, or they're working with them as a buyer and stuff falls apart. And it's amazing because you don't realize this as a consumer. There's no real easy way. There's some ways. I mean, you can look agents up on some different profiles and different places to determine how active they are. And obviously with teams like mine, we put all the production under the team. So sometimes that's kind of challenging. But obviously, because of the amount of money I spend, no agents on my team are selling no homes. We don't keep them if they're not productive. We want the best of the best for our clients. So nonetheless, there are so many consumers out there working with agents that don't even know how to navigate this challenging market. The market shifted, and I've been through it a few times. I mean, my business grew 50+% during the Great Recession. So I know what it's like to work through a shifting market. And a lot of real estate agents got into the business in the heyday, in the COVID days when, you know, money was printing and people were buying and, you know, the market was crazy and realistically anybody with a pulse could probably sell a house. Well, now, as the market has gotten more challenging, those agents, because they got at the timing that they got in, a lot of them didn't adapt. They didn't get new skills. They didn't get training. They kept playing the same playbook that worked during the easy market. And that's why so many of them haven't sold a house. 75% of them. So chances are, if you're a consumer out there, you may very well have been dealing with an agent that hadn't sold a house. And I want to explain like the obstacle with that. I mean, this is probably the most expensive thing that you're going to buy or sell. And if there's no system, team, brand, sales experience behind the agent, I mean, what are you really paying for? And so it's no different, you know, than if you had a lawsuit, or if you had, if you were dealing with a lawsuit, you need to hire an attorney, or if you needed to go to a surgeon and have brain surgery, or, you needed to go in and have your taxes done. Would you go to somebody that's the whole year didn't help a single client? I mean, it's amazing to me, but time and again right now, we're dealing with it. We're getting the calls, we're getting the text messages, we're getting the emails from customers that are frustrated. And a lot of times by the time they've gotten to us, they're too spent. They've bled through money. They've made, bad decisions. They kept trusting their agent. And a lot of consumers, unfortunately, know someone that's a real estate agent. Look, it's no secret to figure out that, everybody and their brother in Florida has a real estate license. Just because they have a license doesn't mean they know what the hell they're doing. Just because they have a license doesn't mean they're going to be able to help you. That's like the bare minimum. I mean, there's plenty of people who have driver's licenses and crash every day. So my point being that if you're a consumer and you went with the agent that was the friend, the neighbor, the wife, the state, whatever it is, the wife of the friend, of the neighbor, of the uncle, of the whatever it is. If you went with a real estate agent, you really didn't do your due diligence, right? Let's just say that, you met with somebody, you went with them and it's failed. it's very likely that agent that failed you has failed other consumers. They haven't sold any real estate. There's no easy way to figure that out. 75% of agents didn't do a deal last year. That is a remarkable statistic to me. So we specialize in helping customers sell their homes who failed to sell with other agents. You see it on our advertising. You hear me talk about it in our programs and on TV. And the reason that we do that is because we know the barrier of entry to get a real estate agent license is relatively minimal. It is not that hard to get a real estate license. If you've met enough realtors, you know it's not that hard to get a license, okay? So the point being, there are a lot of consumers that get caught up in working with the friend or the cousin or the neighbor or the ex-coworker, and they don't really do their due diligence to determine, number one, is this person the right person to help me buy or sell? So they get an unprofessional experience or maybe an inexperienced agent or maybe an agent that didn't even do a whole transaction for the whole year. So you know what they have? They have commission breath. They're desperate. They're trying to force you to make a decision. They're pressing you all the time because they don't do any business and they need money. They haven't sold anything. So we specialize in helping customers in those situations. So if your home failed to sell and is off the market, please reach out to us, duncanduo.com. 813-359-8990. Selling a home that's been on the market before requires a different strategy. There are a lot of agents who just go right back to the same playbook that the other agent was using. There's some unique things that we do when a home hasn't sold with another agent to help get it exposure again. Sometimes it takes the home coming off the market and some things getting done to the house, different photos, different marketing strategies, certainly different pricing strategy. But there are a lot of homes out there not selling, a lot more homes not selling than were not selling a few years ago. And I think, again, it goes back to a lot of inexperienced agents. And I'll tell you that one of the pain points in real estate happened in COVID. And it happened in COVID when everybody got to go home. Everybody got sent home. Everyone's working from home. A lot of cloud-based real estate brokerages blew up, including the one that I'm with now, LPT Realty, and they're attempting to solve this problem through a variety of means. But what ended up happening is a lot of real estate agents that got into the business during the boom got sent home, and it was really easy to make money, even if they were working from home, because everyone was buying and everyone was buyer, and rates were low, and anyone could qualify. Well, now that there's fewer transactions, a lot harder to qualify, not as much going on, a lot of those same agents are in the blueprint of the same pattern. You're working from home. And you know what that means? They're probably not really working, and they're not getting coaching, consulting, and training, or they're doing it via Zoom. And let's be honest, I think everybody's about zoomed out. I did go to enough Zoom trainings, and the attention span of people today is very minimal. So real estate agents have been working from home. They got lazy. They kept following the same pattern of COVID. And it got us used to working from home, and they got complacent, and then they stopped coming to the office. They stopped getting training. They stopped getting coaching. They thought that they could Zoom it in. They thought that they could work from home and still, make it rain. And the reality is it just hasn't happened. So you've got a lot of inexperienced, uneducated real estate agents that have gotten into the business. And, it was sunshine and rainbows during the time that they got in. So they looked like a superstar. But in reality, when they had to go to work and start getting gritty, they're failing. And that's why 75% of real estate agents don't have a deal. A lot of them are still following that same blueprint. So if you want an agent that's not that, we fought against that. We kept people coming in. We kept doing office meetings. We've continued, and we've got people back in the office, and we're doing a lot of coaching and training, and we're attracting a lot of great agents, and we're still doing a lot of advertising. March was our best month in a couple of years. And so the point is that if your home failed to sell, or if you've had a bad real estate experience, again, certainly, the real estate agent could very well be the problem. But you also have to look at the due diligence that you did. What kind of due diligence did you do to pick that real estate agent? And would you have been a little bit more, diligent with your efforts to find a real estate agent, and maybe find the best, find a pro, find somebody with a strong brand and marketing and advertising experience? Had it been a different thing you were looking for? Would you have just gone to the first person to introduce themselves if they were, and you were looking for a lawyer? There's just a lot of real estate agents. So there's a lot of people out there beating down your door saying, I want business, I want business, I want business. But that doesn't mean that they're the right experienced person to help you with the sale or the purchase of the most expensive thing that you're likely going to buy. So customers out there listening, home buyers, home sellers, do your due diligence on the real estate agent. Don't just pick somebody that you like. Don't just pick somebody that's, your friend or that you hang out with or a drinking buddy or a buddy's spouse. Man, I'm telling you that I've seen people lose tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars by picking the wrong agent with the wrong strategy. Homes not selling, homes ending up in foreclosure, homes being overpriced, homes getting damaged. I mean, you name it. I have seen it in my 20-year career. And a lot of customers have frustrations about the real estate business and about real estate agents in general are unwilling to look in the mirror because the reason that they had a frustrating real estate experience is because they didn't do any due diligence to find the real estate agent to help them. So if you want a great experience, if you want an experienced agent and team behind you, we would love the opportunity to apply for the job of selling your home. Even if your home failed to sell, it doesn't mean that your home is the scarlet letter. It may very well mean that you just had an inexperienced agent, one of those 75% of agents that hasn't sold a home in the last year. And I really can't even believe the statistic. A lot of them have second jobs and part-time jobs and are doing Uber and doing other things. But nonetheless, there are a lot of consumers picking those agents and then being frustrated with real estate merely because they really didn't pick a pro. They picked an amateur. They picked somebody that, that they knew, not somebody that had a great track record. So pick the best. Pick somebody with a great track record. Look, we've got a great track record. You can look at the reviews. You can Google my company. You can see the $3 billion in sales. We're obviously not the only great track record around, but the reality is so many consumers get caught up in picking the wrong real estate agent, then have a bad experience, and then think it's a problem with real estate agents or the market. And a lot of times it's the problem is that you didn't do your research to find a professional. You just went to the first person and you believed we're all a commodity and we're all the same, and it's not even close. We're not even close to the same as the agents, the 75% of agents that haven't sold a home in a year. So hopefully that helps you make the right decision with your real estate needs. When we aren't on air, at The Duncan Duo, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook. Please follow us. We're always giving away cool stuff for the Lightning, talking about what's going on in the market and keeping you up to date about Tampa Bay. And I'm going to be back continuing this conversation after a quick break here on WFLA News. So we're back here on the Duncan Duo Show talking about the Tampa Bay real estate market. Andrew Duncan at The Duncan Duo, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook. The luxury real estate market in Florida and in Tampa Bay continues to grow, and it's going to continue to grow for a variety of reasons. But in early 2025, and look, I've been in the business for almost 20 years, or right around 20 years actually now. And I remember like homes above $1 million in Tampa Bay taking like 327 days to sell because there was inventory and not enough buyers for them, right? The market we didn't have enough people buying and selling $1 million homes here. So they sat on the market. They were hard to sell. We just didn't have that audience. And boy, is it massively changed today. The number of homes above $1 million that are selling in our market, how fast they're selling. I looked at stats not long ago that homes over $1 million took about the same amount of days to sell as homes under $1 million. And so our market continues to go after luxury. You see developments downtown that are high, high-end luxury establishments. A lot of our restaurants that are coming here, winning sports teams, our climate, the tax environment for businesses. All things pointing in the direction of entrepreneurs continuing to move here. More and more businesses evolved around tech and AI, which makes the founders and the CEOs a lot more mobile and easier to live somewhere else. And because of COVID, proved the concept that in some businesses, working remotely or CEOs working remotely can be effective. In the real estate business, I do not believe it's effective for real estate agents to work remotely and not get training, education, and consulting. This past couple of years has proved the concept with 75% of agents not even doing a transaction and most of them working from home. It doesn't work if you really want to be productive. It works if you don't want to work. So anyway, back to the luxury market, another thing out there that could really pop our luxury market and probably one of the biggest drivers, two of the biggest drivers during COVID that really drove up our luxury market. Number one were people moving for political reasons. They moved to Florida. Successful entrepreneurs, wealthy people moved to Florida because of the stance our governor took as it related to COVID, the lockdowns, and all of the different things going on. The second reason why they came to Florida and have stayed is the lack of an income tax in Florida. That is a big deal for people that are 7- and 8-figure earners that have 7, 8, 9-figure net worths. When they look at their state tax bills in some of the most expensive states, it is a sunk cost for them that they see no value from. And our real estate market, in addition to having the no state income tax, our real estate market in Tampa Bay, despite what local people say is, oh, we're overpriced and prices have been going up and it's so expensive, our real estate market is still affordable from a luxury standpoint compared to other markets. I met a gentleman at the Hometown Titan speaking event this week that owns a private equity company and multiple home service companies. And he has a $10 million house in Pennsylvania. And he told me that, he looked at what he could get for $10 million here and was absolutely blown away at how much more value he could get for his money. So our real estate market is still affordable compared to stuff up north and out west. It has gotten more expensive, of course, but it still looks like a bargain in a lot of ways to entrepreneurs and successful people that buy luxury real estate. The other thing I'll tell you that's probably going to keep our luxury real estate market doing well, and that is the potential for property taxes going away. And again, even if they don't go away, another complaint I hear from states up north from people that have high net worth and very expensive homes is the amount that they pay in property taxes. And I pay a massive amount of property taxes in Tampa, so I would love for it to get abolished. I don't know that I don't know that they'll fully get abolished, but I do believe there's going to be some pretty massive, considerable relief. And so if our property taxes, which are comparably high, believe it or not, to some of these other areas, we're able to offset it with, no state income tax and a lot of other things that still keeps people moving here. But our property taxes are comparably high compared to some of the other parts of the country. So if our property taxes see massive relief where either homesteaded properties don't pay property tax or get massively reduced, and now in addition to having affordable real estate, no state income tax, and very, kind of pro-freedom political belief system, you're going to bring people here that are going to look at it and say, okay, for my $5 million house in Florida versus my $5 million house in Massachusetts or Philadelphia or New York or California, my property tax bill in Florida is so much less. Right now, it's not. If we do see massive relief or abolishment of property taxes in Florida, we will see another surge in our luxury real estate market. And frankly, even if it's not abolished, even if there's just relief and it makes us more competitive, we'll get more and more tech people that can move here, more and more business owners, more and more wealthy people that are looking at those bills and saying, okay, what do I get for my dollar from a tax perspective? And how much is it costing me for property taxes here versus what it would be in Florida? So I think our luxury market in Tampa Bay is going to keep going up. It's going to keep improving. We're going to keep attracting wealth to Tampa Bay. That is a trend that is not going to stop anytime soon. So we'll be back. We're going to continue this conversation after a quick break here on the Duncan Duo Show. So we're back here on the Duncan Duo Show talking about the Tampa Bay real estate market. Andrew Duncan with the Duncan Duo team at LPT Realty. If you are a real estate agent looking to improve your business, grow your sales, get part of a great team that is growing right now. My March was the best month that I've had in a couple of years. spending a massive amount on advertising. It massively increased my advertising lead generation expenses this year. And, we're looking to hire some talented people that want to work, that want to make money, that want to learn from the best how to sell real estate. If that is you, go to jointheduo.com, register for our career night. You can apply for one of our open positions. You can set an appointment with our team and so much more at jointheduo.com. We're excited to be growing, and I think it's an important time for people to really kind of evaluate where they are. If they're not succeeding, if they're not hitting the numbers, sometimes it's the real estate agent not succeeding is because of choices they're making. Sometimes it's the environment they're in. So we can help with both of those things. And again, we are looking to grow and hire agents. So if that is you, go to jointheduo.com. Again, that is jointheduo.com. So I mentioned earlier, and I kind of touched on this a little bit about the real estate market and things going on and tech companies and just kind of an interesting sidebar conversation is the amount of impact AI is going to have in real estate and in all of our industries. I think society as an evolution moves towards efficiency. Pretty much everything moves towards efficiency. That's just part of evolution. Part of society and growth is, companies look to get more efficient. The economies, nations, states. And so when I look at, the things happening in the economy right now, and I hear the fears over, tariffs and this and that, and I don't want to lose my job, and it's moving towards efficiency. So if you're, if you are a real estate agent and you're not adapting and you're not using this new technology and you're not looking to involve AI into helping you serve your customers, the market's going to pass you. If you're someone in an industry that robots have a chance of replacing you, get some new skills. If you're somebody that doesn't work very hard, like I saw this week, I was driving by a construction site, and I won't blast the company name on here because they're probably an advertiser. But I saw trucks that were burying, communication lines. And they're doing it a lot around my neighborhood right now. It's really kind of funny because I always laugh when I see it because there's like 4 trucks there. There's one guy working, and there's like 14 guys standing around talking. Like that type of work ethic is unfortunately not going to keep you employed if robots come in and AI comes in. And so the real estate business, same thing. If you don't evolve and adapt with it as a real estate agent to serve the customers at the highest level, you're going to get replaced. So when I hear these rumblings from people about, protectionism and do this and do that, the reality is work works. And the real estate agents that are successful today, it's because they're working and they're doing a good job for their clients. So, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for more of those. If that is you, if you have a great work ethic, but maybe you need a new environment, if you need the leads that we provide, if you need coaching, if you need consulting, we would love the opportunity to help you. And you can do that again at jointheduo.com. Again, that is jointheduo.com. So I was at a speaking engagement this week for last week. I did the Hometown Titan Retreat. I think I mentioned that once before on the show. But this past week I was on a panel for Real Producers. Real Producers is a local real estate publication that kind of ranks real estate agents. I've been on the cover. I've been featured in it a bunch of times, and I've gone on several of their panels. And so I got asked to be on this panel, and we were going around the room. We were talking about what we were seeing happening in the real estate market. And it was pretty much a consensus that the real estate market is definitely better now than it was a year ago. And I think, again, assuming no storms hitting, it's going to be even better when we get to the summer and fall months, as more and more of the kind of the storm damaged homes get repaired and relisted, the insurance claims get squared away, the people get moved. Again, assuming no major, hurricane impacts. So the market is heading in a positive direction just based on all that information. But one thing that's a caution, that's a challenge for people, and again, why a lot of people are afraid. You've got, obviously hurricane season scares people because, the pain of last year's hurricane season is still kind of fresh in people's mind. So we're very hopeful in Tampa Bay real estate to get through this hurricane season unscathed, because I think that will really propel our real estate market in the summer months and fall and into the winter. The other thing that I think is a wild card, obviously there's a lot of discussion about the abolishment of property taxes. If that ends up happening, I think that's going to be a huge boom for our market. There's a lot of speculation that will happen. I think there are a lot of smart people getting into real estate investments now with the expectation there's a good chance of major property tax reform, which would cause prices to rise and would get payments back in line with what they were when interest rates are really low. And then, of course, there's pressure and a lot of things going on around the tariffs and how that impacts the economy. So I talked about this. And I talked about this before on the show, and I want to talk about it again because I think it's crucial for people right now. There's a lot of volatility right now with the tariffs, okay? Every discussion, I mean, the market's up, it's down. And we're not just talking like slight. We're talking like big swings up, big swings down. And what happens when that occurs is interest rates also have a big swing up and a big swing down. It doesn't appear that there's going to be any sort of wrapped all in, quick, easy, packaged up in a nice little big, beautiful, as President Trump calls it, a big, beautiful bill. I don't think there's going to be a big, beautiful bill for tariffs. It looks like there's going to be individual countries kind of negotiated one at a time. And so without that big, beautiful tariff deal and it stretching out, it's going to continue to be volatile and go up and go down. And what that causes is the bond markets and the treasuries to also go up and go down. So interest rates right now are going to be a bit of a roller coaster. There's going to be periods of time where they're up, and there's going to be periods of time when they're down. And it's why picking a really good real estate agent and a really good mortgage lender are important right now, because there's a lot of money you may leave on the table with that quarter or half point change in interest rates if you lock at the wrong time, or you don't get a lender that'll give you a relock. So if you're looking at buying anytime soon, you're going to have to play the game a little bit. You're going to have to pay attention. You're going to have to listen to your LO, and you're going to have to hope that your LO is somebody that has your best interest in mind. When I say your LO, I mean your loan officer. I talk in real estate lingo sometimes, but your loan officer is going to have to be somebody that has your best interest in mind. So that ebb and flow of, rates, if you lock at the wrong time, it's going to cost you a lot of money over a long period of time with that loan. So what do I recommend? Well, first off, we partner with, Rich Mize and Marshall Smith's group with Fairway Mortgage. We can't speak highly enough about them. They do an incredible job for us and have for a really long time. And they are a local mortgage, business that has your best interest in mind, that cares about getting your business again, that cares about helping you and your family and getting referrals. The national mortgage lenders, you're a number to them. When you go online and you quote rates and you go and you find the guy with the lowest quoted rate, okay, it's so much of a scam because there's all kinds of fine print about what you have to do to get that rate. And people get bait and switched into this stuff all the time. And then you get this guy that you're talking to from New York, and he doesn't care about you. He doesn't care about your family. You're just a number. They're a mill. They just simply want to process your transaction, make as much as they can, and move on to the next deal. So if you are going to get a mortgage in this very volatile time, I strongly discourage you from working with someone that you don't have a personal recommendation of and that isn't local, that doesn't, the local person's going to care about you and your repeat and your business, and somebody that's recommended by your real estate agent because they have a relationship with them. They're going to be local. They're going to be able to play that game to get you the right rate and play the ebb and flow of tariffs, treasuries, the stock market, the ups and downs of that cause rates to go up and down to try and lock your interest rate at the best possible time. Experienced loan officers know exactly how to do that. The industries that have the great big companies that quote the super low rates, that bait and switch you with higher fees. There's just so much of that goes on, and consumers get duped into it. We see it all the time. We get a pre-qual from a buyer that's using this lender that they don't know, that they've never heard of, and then the transaction's a nightmare. The person doesn't end up honoring what they say. They don't lock rates at the right time. And while that initial quoted rate sounded great, it sounded like sunshine and rainbows, That's not what the consumer ended up getting. The consumer picked the person based on a promise and a failed promise in a lot of scenarios. So you have to compare apples to apples. I see a lot of times people go, oh, I went with that company because I had the higher rate. Oh, they're paying 2 points for it. They're paying 10 grand closing costs for that lower rate. The other company that quoted you a straight rate without any points could have beat that rate with 2 points. So a lot of consumers get tricked in the math. They don't pay attention. They don't do the math. They don't ask the right questions. That's where a great real estate agent can come in. That's where a great mortgage lender can come in. And it's important for you to shop that around and compare apples to apples. We see this happen, and I'm going to talk about this after the break. We see this happen in selling homes too. We see people say like, oh, they told me they'd give me this price for my house. Oh, did you see the 8% fee that they're charging you? Did you see this? Did you see that? Did you see that they're only giving you half of the money up front and then half of the money after they sell the house? There's so many things out there, and consumers just don't read the contracts. And then the agents, they're inexperienced, that haven't done any deals. 75% of the real estate agents haven't done any deals in the last 12 months, don't know any better. They're desperate for a deal, and they get this client into this deal. It's a terrible deal. And the client ends up losing money or not putting as much money in their pocket or spending more money than they should have because they got bad advice. So right now, it's probably never been more important to pick the best real estate agent, a great real estate team, and a great mortgage lender that is local. If you're not doing those things, you're probably losing money that you don't realize, especially if you're not reading the contracts and doing the math yourself. A lot of people just don't do it. We see it all the time. I'm going to talk about that on the home selling side, why you have to compare apples to apples after a quick break here on the Duncan Duo Show. So we're back here on the Duncan Duo Show, wrapping up with our last segment. Happy Easter. Appreciate you guys tuning in today. When we aren't on air, at the Duncan Duo, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, always dishing out the real estate knowledge, keeping you updated on what is going on in Tampa Bay real estate. So I talked about the importance of picking a real estate agent and the right real estate agent a lot through today's show. In this last segment, I want to talk about, when you're selling your home and you're dealing with cash offers or wholesale people. So there are a lot of people out there that get duped into bad contracts, whether it's they're selling their home to someone, they've got a wholesaler that wants to lock their house up. They're working with a large hedge fund that advertises all over the place to give you a cash offer, or you're working with a real estate agent that isn't experienced or doesn't explain things thoroughly. So I first want to start off with wholesalers. A wholesaler, a lot of people don't understand what a wholesaler is, but a wholesaler is someone who really, their goal is not selling your house. Their goal is to sign a contract with you and then find somebody to buy your house, okay? And they want to make the difference. So they're going to take your house to a group of investors. It's going to get beat up. You're probably going to renegotiate multiple times. Your house is probably going to sit there for months. They're going to extend the contract. They're going to put down very little escrow. It is a bad way for a lot of people to sell their homes, especially traditionally. Sometimes it can work with a motivated seller, but I think there's enough cash out there in the marketplace today that you just don't need to let a wholesaler take part of your equity. I think you can go direct to enough investors out there today that have cash that want to buy opportunities. I'm one of them. DuncanDuo.com. We're giving cash offers all the time. But the reality is a lot of consumers get duped and they don't read the contract. And they call us and they say, oh, well, I sold my house. And 2 months later, we call them and they're like, oh, no, we still haven't closed. Why haven't you closed? It's cash. And then come to find out they've got a $200 escrow deposit and a guy that's got an assignable contract that's, basically, taking the house and put it all over Facebook and Craigslist and MLS because he's trying to find somebody that buys this house he's got on a contract for $200 for $220 so he can make his $20. All right. You didn't really sell your house. You just basically negotiated the right of way to sell it and gave away some of your equity. All right. So know what a wholesaler is, know what a real buyer is. Real buyer is going to put up substantial escrow. A real buyer is going to be able to prove that they bought a lot of homes. You're going to be able to look up their LLC and see that they own real estate. They're going to have testimonials. They're going to have a reputation. They're going to have a background. You're going to be able to confirm that they're legitimate. Contracts that are wholesale driven, a lot of times it's guys that took a class and they took a class. They don't have any intention of buying your house. They just want to take that paper and flip it to somebody else. So be cautious, review your contract, always reach out. You can certainly reach out to us. We'll give you certainly some advice or opinion. You can reach out to an attorney to have an attorney review the contract, but strong recommendation. This is a market that's really challenging if you're letting a wholesaler try and flip your property. You're giving away some equity. And again, you do the same thing in a cash offer situation. Any of the hedge funds, you're gonna give away some equity to them too. The difference is convenience. With the wholesaler, you're not really getting the convenience. You're not getting a quick, clean cash deal. You're getting somebody that locks your house up and then kind of has excuses to try and delay the process because they're trying to find a buyer for it, so that they can sell it to that person for a higher amount, and they can make the difference. But you're not getting convenience out of it. Whereas that end user hedge fund is also going to want a discounted off the price, but they're going to buy and they're going to close on it, and it's going to be convenient. So those are the two differences. Another thing I think is important is to compare selling fees. We go out and make cash offers all the time. We had one not long ago where we went out to a house and we offered $220 for it. And they said, we offer $220, no fees, no costs, no nothing, literally like $220, no commission, nothing. Here's $220. So, well, these people offered me $232, so I'm going to take their offer. Okay. Well, they got the vanity and the excitement of the $232 that they could go and tell their friends at happy hour that they sold their house for $232. But the reality was that $232 had an 8% selling fee. Okay. It's like over $18,000. They were getting $214. Okay. Do some math, people. All right. Whip out your calculator, go to Grok, type it in, use some AI. Okay. Do some math. Those people lost money. They lost several $1,000s because they didn't do the math. They didn't realize, they didn't look at it. They didn't ask for a net number. They didn't read the contract. Okay. So read your contract, compare apples to apples. If somebody says, hey, I'll give you, $400 cash right now, close in a few weeks. And then you've got the guy that says, you know what, I'll give you $410. Okay. But I'm only going to give you $300 now. And then I'm going to renovate the house. And as long as the house sells for as much as I think it's going to sell, then I'll give you $110. So you'll make $10,000 more. What if that $110 ever shows up? Now, again, for some people, that deal that could net them more money might make more sense. But for a lot of consumers, they get caught up in the net number and they don't look at the terms. They don't look at the fees. You've got to compare apples to apples. Too many people are comparing apples to oranges and they're saying, oh, I got $400 for my house. No, you didn't. You paid an 8% selling fee. I would have given you $375. So, and it's the same thing with real estate agents. People will say, oh, I'm going to go with the guy that's cheaper. And then the guy with cheaper doesn't spend money on advertising, doesn't hire professional photos, isn't a great negotiator, doesn't have the right syndication for the house, isn't very good, which is why he's cheap, writes a bad description, takes some crap photos, puts it on the market. 3 months later, prices have dropped even more. And those people going with a cheap agent failed out, lost a bunch of money, ate a bunch of mortgage payments. Prices have dropped since then because they thought they were saving money going with the cheap agent. I've always said this. I'll say it again. Cheap work ain't good and good work ain't cheap. The best real estate agents in the market are not the cheapest ones, but they're the ones that are going to net you the most money, sell your home the fastest, and do the best job. When people in a challenging market like today, when people go to the cheapest agent, it's a fail. Man, I cannot tell you how many times it's like, well, what'd they charge you? Well, they charged me 4%, or they charged me this percent, or they charged me that percent. No, they didn't. They didn't charge you anything. They didn't sell your house. They didn't charge you a penny because they couldn't get it done. You didn't save anything. You lost. So in the process of picking a real estate agent today, man, it could not be more important to pick somebody that's got an advertising budget, that's got experience, that's got syndication, that has some experience, that knows how to get homes sold in a challenging market. All these things matter. If you're going with the cheapest agent, you're going to pay for it. And that's just the reality of a challenging market. That could have worked. That blueprint worked a few years ago. That could have worked. Not today. So if you want the best, you know where to find us. DuncanDuo.com, at the Duncan Duo, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. And we hope you get back to enjoying your Easter weekend. Have an awesome rest of your Easter weekend, Tampa Bay, and thanks for tuning in.